order the Parking Committee of Borough Council. I'm Sheila Vaccaro with Lisa Dorsey and Bernie Flynn. First is announcements. Hearing none, we'll move on to comments, suggestions, and petitions by residents and attendants regarding items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to reports. Start with the garage management report.
Evening. I'm Norman Ortiz with Colonial Parking.
Who are you?
Norman Ortiz with Colonial Parking. So the garages in June did fairly well for the month of June. The actuals for the month were $250,000 and $250,208 for the month. Comparing that to last year, that's a difference of $21,000. So they performed $21,000 better than last year. Looking at the year to date, we're at $1,321,844. And that is also above our last year number of year to date, giving us a variance of $43,000 compared to last year. Looking at our numbers for operating expenses, our operating expenses for this month, for the month of June, were $51,000, slightly more than the prior month. We have had some staffing issues over the weekends, which did generate a little bit of overtime. So we're in the process of fixing that, and we've got at least one new hire coming on board in July. Hopefully we'll have an additional person to help relieve that pressure there. Our excuse me, our transient revenue per day, we're at 2,267 transient tickets per day. That was quite a bit more than we had for June of 2024. And overall, for both garages at 4,230 transient tickets per day versus last year of 3,521 transient tickets per day. Moving on with our monthly program. So last month, well, for the month of May, we started the transition of enforcing the restriction of the nighttime monthly parkers. So building on that, for the month of July, we're looking to enforce the restrictions for the daytime parkers. So on June 18th, we sent notifications out to the daytime monthly parkers. Did get some feedback over the next couple weeks afterwards. So out of that group of daytime parkers, we did have 30 daytime parkers that ended up transitioning and purchasing 24/7 monthly parker monthly contracts versus the daytime parking. So this month of July, first week of July is we've started the strict enforcement of the daytime parking hours. So far it's a couple days in. We've only had a few issues where it's been parkers that have gone beyond the hours of 6 p.m. It's mostly on the exit side is where we're seeing that. And I think beyond that, that's all we have to report for now.
Norm, the customers that went from a daytime or a nighttime parking went to 24/7. did they find that that was a value added to their business to be able to come and go as much as they want? Or was that, or was it less expensive for them to, they didn't have to worry about what was going on?
I think overall, it seemed like it would have been a better value for them to do 24/7 versus to park in the daytime and have a penalty if they stay afterwards. And we've got some of the group accounts, which might be some of the accounting firms, mentioned to us that when it comes to their busy season, some of those daytime parkers that they currently have, they might have to convert to 24/7 access just temporarily until their busy period dies down.
And is that difficult for them to say, for the month of April, we're just going to pay 24/7 for these 5 people?
It is not, no. They can always either contact our office or they can just access their account online and they can make that switch.
How difficult would it be to offer for businesses within the town center a discount program for extended hours or hours beyond the daytime limit?
For monthly parking? Is that?
How are the businesses paying for their employees?
So it's for the most part, there's some of the larger groups are paying it through their company. So they're providing that. I believe some of the smaller companies might have an account manager, but some of them might have to pay the discounted parking on their own.
Okay, so if they own a business in the borough and their hours extend beyond the daytime hours, it's not difficult for them to up it for busy months. But how difficult would it be for Westchester Borough to offer a discounted rate to only, town center district or town center businesses?
We could certainly do that if we're we're going by the rate structure that's in place and what's been in place, I guess, for the borough. So if there's a change that's needed there, we can.
You can
modify that.
adjust.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
So Norm, the hourly rate is what, $1.97?
So it's 75 cents per half hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Pretty
so,
modest.
huh?
So it's pretty modest, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so if you exceed your day rate, right? It's basically $1.50, $1.25, whatever it is, extra if you exceed it for that.
So with
So, follow up with that, would it be better to go to 24/7 if you know that you're always going to exceed it?
that's how it should be. Yes, that's correct. So some of those people that did convert, they figured it's better for us to go 24/7 versus paying the additional overstay. Sure.
Thank you.
Great.
So
This is for you, Ms. Vaccaro. So are we looking at offering another alternative, another payment plan, if you will?
I am just curious as to how that could work. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can move on to the director's report.
Hi there. Can you hear me? I can hear me. Okay. So it is July, so we're going to talk about June, which I sort of remember. We had a new officer, a new full-time parking officer began yesterday, Monday, July 7th. His name is Amir. He is wonderful. You will see him. He is very nice, very excited about his energy. So we now have 3 full-time day shift officers. We're slightly back to normal. And then we have a part-timer who works mid-shift who is actually covering for one of our night shift officers who's on vacation. We're still continuing to remove the meters in town. Monica's doing a great job working with Public Works. We're also very thankful for removing meters. It's kind of a collaborative effort because we have to come and empty them and take the guts out of them. And then Public Works is removing poles and removing the meters themselves. And we're also keeping an eye out for signage. So if you are parking on a block and you think signage is missing, let us know and we'll work with Public Works on updating that. I'm always really paranoid that there's not enough signs, but also there's too many. We're working on the survey. Actually, Nick's intern, Mikey, has been helping Monica and I with that as well. I think what we'd like to do is present it sometime we'll present it at the August meeting, but I think it would be great if I love the restaurant festival. So I was thinking it would be good to also release it sometime at the end of August so we could sit at the restaurant festival and get more feedback from people. We've ordered the new handhelds, so thank you for approving that purchase order. And working with building and housing on making sure this has been really helpful, but when people are trying to get their parking permits, if their rental licenses are missing anything or incomplete, it's been a really great process because we're getting people to submit what they need. And just a heads up that on the finance agenda, there is a purchase order for $14,369.50. That's for J&J Outdoor Services. And that was the lowest of 3 quotes to power wash the garages, which we do annually. And Colonial did a great job because they did all the proposal work. Any questions on that?
The old meters that were taken apart and storing them, have we found a buyer for them yet?
No. So once we have them all pulled, we are inventorying them here and keeping a spreadsheet. So we have all the serial numbers. Monica's pulling them off of the street. So as soon as they're off, we're no longer paying that monitoring fee. Once we have an inventory, I'll request approval from parking committee and council to post on municipal, and I'll also probably hit up some of the local municipalities to see if they're interested because they are 4G. They are in good working condition. They're just not needed here.
And the restriping of the Gay Street lot?
We did put in the cartograph request.
Okay.
I'm not sure where it stands, but they might have been tied up pulling meters for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Okay.
did that.
Right.
Yes.
And that was 10 spots, wasn't it? Or was it 9?
I think it was, I'm not sure.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we tried to make it a consistent block.
Okay, yeah, just one block
Yeah.
for the residents there. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you.
Do we have a ETA for when all of the meters will be gone?
Not officially. I mean, I'm hoping by the end of July, and that's really weather dependent and staffing dependent, but they're moving quickly. So I wouldn't be shocked.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we have been handing out those little cards, if you've seen them, that show the lots, the local lots, and have more Flowbird information on it. And I will just say, I know people have some feedback about Flowbird not working. And one of the tips that Monica has told me is if you are, and I'm really bad at this, always close out of the app when you're done using it so that when you go back in, it will open up. I think that's one of the reasons people get user errors. So close out of your apps.
I heard that this morning too.
Okay. I just opened my phone. I'm like, I have 17 things running right now. Financials for the month. And I'm going to, I cannot get this financial report where I want it. I will work with Sean on that. And then once the new building and housing person comes, this will look better. And, for June of 2025, ticket revenue was at $81,035. You could see it dipped from May. It does change a lot when school clears out, and it's much quieter in town. Posting revenue was at $4,913.50. We're holding steady on that. I'm guessing that'll probably go up because it feels like every week something's being paved. Meter revenue was at $156.16.80. So pretty decent for the month, a little dip. Again, it's quieter. And permit revenue is going to start ramping up. And that was at $3,227. So we had a total of 245, 192.30 for the month. Fairly consistent.
Okay. Moving on to old business. Motion to approve the June 2025 Parking Committee meeting minutes. Okay. Approved. And then discuss special event fees. I have question. The general question is, for events that the borough sponsors, how should parking be managed? What is the best start time for special event pricing? Should it start earlier in the garages? For the special event fees, should it be $10 or $20? Should it be consistent on all levels? Should the parking fee be allocated 150 or 0 to offset event costs? Fee for special parking special event parking should include surface lots and garages? And should we apply for a sponsorship by deadline? Council awards a limited number.
Hmm,
Lots of questions. Okay, I read those too quickly. Let's just,
Good question.
we came up with these. The start time, let's do that one.
I thought we discussed this last month,
We did.
right? And we said it was going to start 8 a.m., 9 a.m., whenever the,
Yeah, my recommendation would be, and I think it's fair because people can come in and out, they are in town, but to have it as an all-day fee, I think when we try timing it, whenever we time it, people come before to get in before it starts, and we've never really been successful with it. So I think standardizing it that all special events are an all-day or until it's over, you know?
so if you're a daily parker, a monthly parker, you know,
Still
it doesn't
covered.
apply to you, but if you're here for the event,
Yeah.
it's $20.
But daily parkers are still daily parkers.
Well, I mean, if they have the daily pass, right?
If they have a pass, yeah, no, it's okay.
Play Parkers, right?
Monthly parkers, that's fine. But if you're there for the day, if you're there to, buy an ice cream cone and you don't want to go to the event, I'm sorry. Don't park in the garage.
Ramsey, is that 8 a.m. or 9 a.m.?
I mean, the garages are 24/7, so it would be either or. I mean, 8 a.m. would probably be fine, but it really also would depend on I mean, I think we should standardize it, but I don't think it would make much of a difference. You pick.
We can talk to John O'Brien about when he thinks. No.
Should start.
Yeah. All right, let's say 8 a.m. and it's 8 a.m. Okay, it's 8 a.m. Let's go to $10 or $20.
Can I speak to that last point quick? Sorry.
We were just making decisions. What do you want? Yes, what?
Timing? Being that I organize a bunch of events in town, all day is not going to work. What are you going to do with all the vendors that come to those events? You're charging them to be in your event and you're going to charge them $10 or $20 to park on top of that as well?
So can you give them you know who those vendors are, right?
It varies from event to event. Like the restaurant festival, I'll use that as an example. That's the biggest one with the most vendors. We have 150 vendors. So
They have to register for the event, correct? To have a table. So you know who they are.
Yes,
You can give them a parking pass.
we can.
Problem solved.
We should also consider right now, the garages are the only place that we can make revenue on these days. So if you don't put an event fee on the lot, which I know is one of your questions, and I would say we should test it with I know we've decided that for the Christmas parade, we should see how that goes and then decide. But they can always park in the lots for free. The lots are free those days, but we shouldn't. What?
What
We're going to
lots are-
change that.
Oh, but
So what lots
but-
are free?
right now.
No lots are free.
As it stands, to have the garage fill up with all the vendors before the event, it fills up the garages and then people that are participating, we lose revenue on that. That's why,
But if we're charging on all of the lots, garage, surface lots, it's a flat fee of
Then I
$10,
would say-
$20.
Yeah.
right? You give the vendors a pass to
Yeah,
park
I-
because they're
I'm-
participating.
We have not officially decided that we're doing all of the lots. I completely agree with doing all of the lots, but that's a later question. So
We can skip there.
we can skip there. Are you okay with charging in the lots? Okay. So we decided, the three of us decided that all the lots, all the garages are going to be $20 for the full day. We will be totally fine with giving passes to vendors. Good?
Vendors should not park in the garage. They should park in the flat lots. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we did the first question, second question. Uh, then this flat lot question we dealt with. Okay, so for special event parking, should it be consistent for all events? This goes back to act of what is an event. Um,
You mean all events in the borough or just, I thought we had discussed at one point that it's only for things that shut down like Gay High Market, like the Central Business District. I thought that was what was considered a special event that engages a parking fee. I don't remember where I had that conversation.
And the problem has been that in those few events that we do charge a special event fee, we're charging different rates. So do we want to charge the same rate instead of coming in here and pre-discussing every?
Right. I want $20 at every special event, but I still don't know what an event is. And I don't think that's parking's decision really, but for this conversation, it has to be parking. So in reference to parking, a special event is something that shuts down town center?
That was something that had been discussed and proposed. I wasn't sure where it ended up.
Does the open air market count as a special event?
The which?
Does Gay Street closures on the weekends in the summer? Eh.
So does this go back to the conversation at the ACT committee around, what is an event? Is it a threshold of attendance, over 10, I'm just picking a number, over 10,000 people, and you're shutting down Gay, High, and or Market?
So there are three events that I think are big events, but they do very different things. So Porch Fest, the Christmas market, and the Christmas parade.
Porch Fest doesn't shut down Gay, Market, or High. Although it's a slippery slope, right? Because if we're going to start subsidizing things, a little off topic from the last committee, then we're going to have a ton of people coming in here and saying, oh, well, we want to have it downtown. We're not going to do it in Ward 3 and 5. We're going to do it in, the town center. So it's a very slippery slope. For parking, though,
Or parking.
it's closing down the street, the Gay, High, and Market, or some combination of those.
But then the summer,
But
Weekend.
that's Westchester is doing that. That's not the chamber or the green team
True.
or
which is something
some
I've
other
made
entity.
adamant point about in the last meeting, and then I just forgot it. So
That's
this
a
is really
bu-
hard for me.
That's a borough event, right? So it would not, the parking, it's
Right.
not a borough event. It's a borough because it lasts for months, right? But
It's a
yet-
decision like First Fridays, so it's more of you could build it in. I don't think you have to.
First Fridays are a not borough sponsored event. This gets really weird.
Restaurant Festival is a borough-sponsored event.
So for parking, I need Restaurant Festival to be the same as the Christmas parade. Why? Yes, in the Halloween. So parades, these are parades. Then no, Restaurant Festival's not a parade. I'm gonna yell these things until they are true. It's not true. So Chili Fest, Restaurant Fest, Christmas Parade, Halloween Parade, Christmas Market. What do these have in common? They're shutting something down,
Downtown.
but they're not the weekends over the summer. That I'm help.
I mean, those are one-day events, right? They don't go from May to October.
There's also something happening. There's an event happening. There's nothing, there,
Shutting
yeah,
down.
there's a draw to that. I mean, Gay Street closure, yeah, there's a draw, but it's not.
It's not an event.
Significant drop.
You just do by how many square blocks of closed off, so if you.
The Christmas market and the summer weekends, I think, are the same. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Main blocks, 2 east, 2 west of Arcade.
The Christmas market or the, oh, okay.
From May to now October. I wouldn't necessarily look at that as an event.
Yeah.
There's events that happen, but that's an every weekend closure, not an event.
And it doesn't require a special event application.
It's not an event. I'm with Katie.
Okay. I think the definition is fuzzy here.
I think if it doesn't have like you said, it doesn't have a special event applications. There's nothing tethered to it. It's just a decision that council made for the benefit of the borough and the businesses.
Okay.
It's assigned to, for example, like wellness.
Yes. Public Works is involved in it's,
I think I stand with, it's not really a special event. And you guys do have the power to say that one thing is different. Just don't add any more.
But that is the differentiator, right? There's no permit, like event permit required for the open air market.
why? So Restaurant Fest? No. Restaurant Fest is a borough function.
Do you do a special event application?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, the special event applications, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The special event applications that are submitted, almost all of them, if not all of them, are one-day special event applications, where the Gay Street open air market closure, whatever you want to call it, is a long-running, standing activity that takes place. It does incur costs to the borough, but there is no specific event tied to it, like Ramsey was saying. It's there more so for the businesses as provided by the borough or the direction of the borough. I don't know how else you want to define that.
So I'm only getting, I was okay in act. We just sort of said we're going to talk about it next month, but if it's a borough sponsored event, then it's different than the outside people coming in. For parking, I don't think that works because we're talking about the Halloween parade and we're talking about Restaurant Fest. So I think it gets weird here, but I can accept this, but we need to be really clear in the way we write it that for some reason the open air market, even though it really is a ongoing weird event that has all the same things that all the events have, it's for some reason not an event. But all these other things, whether they're borough sponsored or not, are events for the public.
Well, so one of the topics on smart growth, which I'm hoping the new director can help us get through, is that we're going to update chapter 90A to include the open air market in the ordinance. So you could just exempt it from the special event parking fee in that ordinance change.
Okay.
Cool.
Good. All right, I'm not done. the fee for parking should be allocated 150 or zero to offset costs. I feel like we kind of ended on zero, but where are you guys? Lisa, are you okay with that?
Again, I think it's semantics. It's all coming out of
It's
the same
very
pot.
semantic. Gonna come out of this, but we're just not gonna tie it to how many cars are parked in the garages. So zero for that.
And that's 0% revenue sharing of the parking.
Right. We're not going to share revenue by counting cars. We're
Gotcha.
going to share revenue by some percentage that's going to be decided somewhere else. Oh. Yeah, that's in the finance committee, maybe? Uh-huh. So, bye, not going to deal with that. And then apply for sponsorship by a deadline, council awards to a limited number. What does that mean?
So I think you're saying that there's a limited number if you are either or I don't, does that tie to the 0% sharing? Or is that like, if we're going to allow 5 events to do some sort of cost sharing, you're going to have to get that sponsorship request in by March 1st so that council can decide if you have 10, there's only 5 available. Is that what you're?
No, Sean, right there.
Yeah, Ramsey's on the right track. Council talked about there being a process similar to the city of, was it Wilmington or was it, I think it was
Wilmington,
Wilmington.
North
Yeah,
Carolina.
where, I don't know exactly how they do it, but the idea would be events that were looking for sponsorships, in other words, money coming back towards them to run the event would apply. That way you could put a limit on what that is and create an agreement permit or an agreement with that organization. It'd be for 1 year and you go back and you do it again. It's just a process because I'm always trying to encourage you all to think about processes instead of just unique handshake relationships.
I love this, but is this a parking discussion? Okay.
No.
I'm only saying it's not a parking discussion because I'm going to charge $20 for the restaurant fest and we're not sponsoring that. So
Yeah. Help me understand how it's related to parking, because I'm with Ms. Vaccaro in that I don't see how
Yeah.
sponsorship is related to parking.
Since it was process related, I put it on the ideas and choices for every committee that was going to discuss it. So we could punt to tomorrow night at the finance committee.
Should it go
I
to
vote to
Keith
punt.
because he handles the special event? No, sorry, Keith. Sorry,
It's not-
if Keith's managing the special events, should he manage that process also?
I like the idea of limiting the number very much. I think that we're limiting we're limiting the number of sponsorships and parking is discussing both borough and sponsored events. And I don't want to confuse that. How's that? Did that work? You guys okay with that? Okay.
You want to recap? Because we decided to play pickleball today.
Okay. Start times for special event is 8 a.m. It is in the garages and all the lots. It is $20 for the day. The $20 fee ends when the event ends. We didn't really say that, but I'm saying that. It's consistent for everything that is considered an event. The open air market is not an event. There will be zero offset cost from parking directly. So the number of cars will not be related to the reimbursement. And then somebody else will decide what the limited number is of outside sponsored events. We are only discussing town center. Did we
Yeah.
did we clarify that? Town center parking events. Is that everything? Okay.
I have one question. I know this will come up. I think the Halloween parade is on a Sunday now, and somebody had mentioned the use of churches at lots. If we're doing special event fees all day, I already got yelled at by a church once. So if there's a way to avoid that again, I do think there's going to be we're going to have to figure out a plan for that, for the lots on Sunday events.
Mr. Karowski, when's the Halloween parade? At what time?
We were going to plan it for an early afternoon kickoff. We didn't decide it yet. It's probably at 12 or 1 o'clock.
Oh, that early?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're dropping it back 5 hours or so.
Yeah, we're dropping it back to its daylight hours on a Sunday. There's going to be some new rules and regulations that the police are putting forth that'll be involved. So we kind of need the daylight to do the inspections of the vehicles.
So what's going to happen there? There's about 5 flat lots that corresponding churches use that maybe get a handout to put on their dashboard. You know, most of the services are over by 11 or 12, unless you're Catholic, and we just pray all damn day. So, but the Presbyterian Church, the Methodist, everybody has a lot that they use. And they normally have 2 different services, like a normal service, like a temporary service. So.
And I'm sorry, Lisa, go ahead. Sorry.
Related but not related. How do we end up on a Sunday afternoon?
After we had the 225 parade and we saw how much easier it was to close the downtown on a Sunday, late morning, early afternoon, and things just went significantly smoother and easier, especially from a police perspective, we decided that we would try it on a Sunday afternoon, the Halloween parade this year on a Sunday afternoon, to see if we could get the same results. And like I said, there's also a bunch of new rules and regulations. The police are asking us to incur of all of the participants. It's a lot more detailed. And I also think in the daytime with full light, it'll be easier to, like I said, do car inspections, trailer inspections, things of that nature. Now we could potentially, I'm not against the idea if it would make it easier. Maybe it's a 2, maybe it's a 3 afternoon start, as opposed to so early, to not interfere with the churches, to make things a little smoother, at least in year 1.
If we do it on a Saturday, there's no issues.
The issues are restaurants.
Yeah, we closed. This year, we have it announced and scheduled for a Sunday this year. I think it's the 26th of October. We can certainly see how things go on this year. If need be, again, we haven't sent anything out specifically to like actual participants, but we can move things back, adjust the time a little bit if you think it'll make things a little bit easier on that Sunday. This is our first go around with a Halloween parade, but like I said, the 225 parade went very well.
Later, it would be better. Like I said, most services are 10 o'clock and 12, so it's, yeah.
So if you did like 3 in the afternoon, maybe there wouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a 3 o'clock step off, you're talking about shutting down the streets roughly about noonish, so we can get all the vendors and marching bands and all that jazz into the streets to get everything lined up and ready to go for a 3 o'clock march off.
And it'll be dark probably around 5.
Yeah, I mean, I would. The biggest part of the light is pre-parade, so we can do the inspections.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We still have the parking issue because we're going to charge all day, but I think you're right that we just hand out some way of excluding. Yeah. Are you comfortable with that, with the churches handing out something? You're not.
I just don't know how we're going to manage. I mean, at that point, I don't know like how we'll manage it. I feel like a lot of people will be like, come to our church and then we're going to give you a pass to go to the parade or something, like, I don't know. I don't, at that point, is there even a point of trying to charge in the lots? I don't know. But
Consistency.
But if we push back to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, that's not an issue, right? Then we don't have to give out the placards for the
We do,
churches
'cause
because
it
the
starts
lots
at
should
8
be
a.m.
empty. I'm sorry?
8 a.m. We already decided.
so maybe we can give the churches passes that last until a certain point. And then after that, like it goes till noon, or I don't know, you're a church going folks. So maybe you can Maybe we find out like a consistent time that's fair in between 1 PM for those passes are good until 1 PM. So if you're parked there, but then after that, you got to pay
Right.
because you're going to the event, which Katie just brought up another question, which is helpful. And Norman's here, so he might have some insight. If you're a daily parker and there's an event, if you have 8 to 6, I guess this was mostly be for Christmas parade. If you're 8 to 6, because that's your parking time and you have to stick to those. If you stay after 6 PM, are we charging the $20 to a monthly parker to get out? Because now they've stayed past their 6 PM time, or are we charging them the hourly?
I think we're charging them the $20.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. We gotta figure that out. Okay.
Okay.
Successful.
Ramsey,
Yes.
we have to make sure we have the churches under control. Because you don't want that visit again.
I don't, yeah. So happy to discuss with all the churches before we
Yeah,
start this.
yeah,
I guess next month we should probably know.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I think we
Um,
should put the churchgoers number on speed dial for all the people that might complain.
Everyone call Bernie Flynn, please. Yeah, we'll do some recon. I know we have some contacts and we'll reach out. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Darrell Cook, 506 South Walnut Street. How many enforcement officers will be working to enforce the flat lots?
I don't know.
Darrell, I did ask that question a while ago, and the parking director said that we'll probably have our officers, roving officers, checking each of the lots, not stationary, because they have to go to the kiosk and get a kiosk pass. So it's not like the old school where you put 2 barricades up and you collect $20 as they go through. They're going to use the kiosk, correct?
Yeah, so it would be, I would likely have 3 officers on that evening and they can use the LPR, they can drive through. It registers that way, so they know if you've paid or not. Yeah.
Okay. How do we, so ACT just pushed it to next month. I feel like we made a lot of decisions here and that's very specific parking related decisions that I think we should move this. Okay. Anything else? We're moving on to new business, which there is none. So I'm going to move on to other business. And I want to discuss garage parking for our retail friends in our downtown district. Go. What are your thoughts on, I have heard more than one concerned retail owner in our borough. We are now enforcing specific daytime hours versus evening hours, and it's an issue because we basically weren't really doing anything about the employees parking in our garages. This is new, and there were some complaints that we were giving things to the restaurants, which is not true. We're charging the restaurants customers in the evenings. I think we just need to discuss, because it's very important to me that we encourage more retail specifically, and we sort of forgot about the retail people in the way we set up the hours in the garage. It's very appropriate. Most of our borough is not retail, and there are very daytime, nighttime things that are going on. But for me, supporting the retail is very important. Do we need to do anything about it? And would Mr. Curtin like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Chris Curtin. I own a Claw Chocolate. I've been here now leasing from the borough for 20 years. And the new rule, I'm trying to just figure out how we can work a compromise so it will benefit my team. Like I said, we actually rent in that building, but we have a staff issue with parking and also that it's safe for them at night and so forth. Also, we also do a lot of production there. So we're also moving lots of heavy beans and things like that to our warehouse. And so I'm just trying to think of a solution, because if we end at 6 o'clock as it is now, for us to stop and move our cars is not possible because we're in the middle of production. It's like telling a kitchen at 6 o'clock to go, stop cooking and go do something. So I'm just trying to be open-minded and try and think of how we can come to a conclusion, because literally every day now it's costing me over $20 because my staff is over 6 o'clock. And it's just, I'm just wondering how we can find a nice solution that would help I think, I'm not saying I'm special, but I feel like we rented there for 20 years and the parking rules change. And I understand there has to be benefits for the borough to make money and things like that. But right now, sometimes we're there 9, 10 o'clock at night. So, if everyone wants to bear, we're working 12, 13 hours a day for what we do. And our reputation precedes us with that because of that work. So I'm just trying to find a way of, how can we find a way that's more affordable for us, to get a 24-hour pass, then that's over, $700 for me a month just for my team. So I'm trying to, again, see what we can do to work out something that's beneficial for both of us. So
I want to add something on top of this. I had 2 friends out the other night from Philadelphia. We went out to dinner. They wanted to walk around town. I walked them around town. We stopped to get gelato, and my one friend, who's much older than me, said, "Why is everything closed?" And I said, "Everything is closed in Westchester because that's how we function here. It's not how I want things. I wish things stayed open, and I want retail to be encouraged to stay open." Because the restaurants are not the only thing that matter, and there are people walking around, and if we could somehow, I want everybody to be required to stay open until 9 o'clock every night. But we're not going to do that. But I want to encourage it. What are your thoughts?
I would like to find a compromise as well. I think, I don't know what it is just yet. I've been thinking about this as well since your email, but I would think that there is a way to accommodate businesses, particularly the employees, not customers or clients, but employees. And I don't know if that is a certain, if we go back to the 24/7 that we had previously, or 9 to 9, whatever it was, that we just changed. The cutoff was 6. We changed it to 6 now for employees of local businesses.
because the 6 o'clock rule is just killing us right now.
So so there are 3 things here. I think 8 to 8 is not daytime parking. That's like almost the whole day at that point. And I think there was also a lack of enforcement on this with InPark. They weren't, you could pay anything and park whenever. So this is daytime park. 8 to 6 makes sense for daytime parking hours. I understand your business operates differently and 24/7 is more expensive, but it is still a value because you are paying less than you would at the hourly rate, which I calculated. And I think it's much less if if you're getting a monthly parking versus hourly. So there is a benefit to having that. There might be an opportunity here. I don't think we should change the daytime hours because those are daytime hours. There might be an opportunity where we consider, and we can look at other garage companies and places, small business discounts, new business discounts. Maybe if you're a new business coming to the borough, we really want to encourage you and we're going to give you 2 years of discounted parking. But I think at some point we do have to understand that this is space that is being utilized, and it's accessible, and it is a benefit, and it still is a value at that rate. So I don't, I understand, I appreciate your business. I love chocolate. I love your chocolate. Got it for Christmas. But I do think at some point, like, this change isn't going to be for everyone, and I understand that, but I think that's the point. Like, if you're there for 13 hours a day, then you might need the 24/7. And so I think but again, I think there are things we could do to encourage small businesses to participate in the borough, and we should look at that as well.
Chris, can we walk through your business model?
Sure.
All right, what time do you open in the morning?
We open up at 10 o'clock.
And,
We get there at 9,
okay, and what time does the doors lock?
6 o'clock.
Okay, from 10 to 6, you're,
We're in manufacturing and then the people in the front.
right,
The issue to the 24-hour is right now we're going home at 6:30 to 7, 90% of the team. There's some other people that are doing some R&D and other at the warehouse where we're roasting our beans. So we have another facility, 8,000 square feet, where we do all the chocolate manufacturing.
in your lease that you have with the borough, how many parking spots does the borough give you with your lease?
None. Two. We're paying for 5, I think right now. One's 24 hours for me because I'm always there. And the rest for my team. We shouldn't.
I think we need to know
Yeah.
what we need to know, because we don't know what we know.
Well, we know that we don't know.
Yeah, we know that you're open at 10, you close at 6, and it takes time to clean up, and you manufacture there.
Right.
And
And Christmas, we're there, much later.
so the staff that stays after, I'm sure they're staggered, but the staff that stays after 6 o'clock, what's a normal lockup time?
They're leaving, pretty much 90% of them, they're leaving 6:37. That's why, to pay the 24 hours for that, just extra.
So we're basically talking an hour.
Right. And that's what I suggested, is maybe we move it to 7, but then I think she's right that then where do you stop? I mean, 8 o'clock, 8 to 8 is not, but, I'm just trying to think of the relationship I've had with the borough, and maybe this is self-serving or just bias, but, we have been here 20 years. We have had Westchester on CNN. We've had, our reputation. So we bring a lot to Westchester, and we rent in that building. So I'm thinking there must be a way that people that rent in that building can get some sort of discount. I'm not talking free. I'm just talking.
No, but you're the outlier. So far, I think there's been two people.
There are some other complaints.
The running shoe store is,
The what store?
the running shoe store hadn't
Oh.
even heard about it, which,
Okay.
I mean, that's not my problem, but,
Yeah,
I mean, I talked to him and he's like, what? I'm like,
yeah.
so,
Well, we're talking a 75 cents, no, $1.50, excuse me, $1.50. So instead of taking up all of our time on $1.50, why don't you talk to Ramsey and Norman and come up with a solution for your $1.50, an hour?
$1.50?
Well, it's 75 cents a half hour.
You
an
know
hour.
why he shouldn't do that? Because of what I care about, which is not just Eclat. Fine, you're great. I love you. But that's not my concern. My concern is I want retail in this borough, and I want retail to feel like they should stay open past 6 o'clock.
They won't do it. On Saturday afternoons, when I get done praying for everybody's sorry soul, and then I stop at 151 Whiskey to make sure that I am perfectly ready for the evening, right? Every retail shop is closed.
And
every
I
retail-
want to do everything
every retail
possible to change that.
I'll just end with this. I mean, my major argument is 20 years here in Borough, and also that we rent in that space. So hopefully something can be worked out that way. I also will add that our ingredients have gone up 3 times in the last 4 months, and that's without the tariffs. So the restaurants, any of the food industry is just being decimated right now.
Chris,
So
can I ask you one
any way
question?
we can help. I'm sorry.
Can I ask you one more? I'm sorry, just one more question.
Sure.
What were you paying or what were your employees paying before the change and what are they paying now?
We're still, what were we, $75?
Yeah, daytime.
Yeah, for daytime,
Sorry.
95. And I was paying 100 something, 125.
So one from 95 to 125?
Yeah, I'm the, well, we might have two.
Yeah. I do have an idea that I think Norman, and what I think we still need a policy to remain consistent, but I think if we can come up with, if daytime hours are 8 to 6, that's 9 hours, right? So we can set it, if you're 9 to 6 or 10 to 7, that for your account, it would still not go over the 9 hours. So it would still be the daytime 9-hour parameter, but you could come in later and leave later for your accounts so that you wouldn't have to pay over. You would be available for your hours that you need. Still daytime rate because it's still the 9 hours allotted, but you're,
But we work more than 9 hours.
well, then at that point, I think you're a 24/7 pass, I would say. So like busy season, I think it would be fair if you're using the garage for 13 hours a day, you would pay the 125. But if you needed to flex it, we could create a flexible 9-hour window for your retail hours.
But to have me pay for 5 employees is a chunk of change.
Right. I understand. I mean, I understand
Right.
that, but you're parking in a garage at, that's reserved parking for you. So there's,
But it
next to your business.
It wasn't that way when I redid my lease. I mean, the parking was expensive, but I deal with it. Now it's hampering when I can maneuver to do my production and manufacturing. That's the issue I have. It's putting me in handcuffs. I can't work that extra, or I have to send employees home early because it's going to cost me, $20 to have them all stay past 6 o'clock. So that's the issue is, like I said, I don't see why we can't do some type of revised vision on the lease that says people that rent in that space pay, $95.
I think that this is a bigger issue than who is in that building.
Yeah. But like now it's costing me $20 every day out of pocket.
And maybe that's something to think about, like the existing lease, right? So it's grandfathered until we renew the lease again, and then it would be the prevailing rate or, whatever the new negotiated rate is. Just, I think we have a lot to think about here. I'm getting daggers from.
No, I'm not, I was in Germany too long. So if I look stern, it's not.
As Ramsey and Norman brought up, that's why I asked what your hours were, and the hour, you're actually picking up the extra hour on the backside instead of on the front side, but you're 24/7, so it doesn't matter for you. And then you get 2 passes or 3 passes on your lease, so that should cover your key people that they come into work, and then your hourly people, they pick up the extra hour. So I think it's a pretty good compromise because you're getting it on the backside instead of the front side. And we will have to clarify how many passes you really are
Right.
supposed to be getting.
Yeah, I'd like to still think of different ways
3?
we can do that.
Hold on. Sean?
Yeah, there's 3 no-cost spaces in the lease.
Wow, I've been paying.
Okay, go sit.
I've been paying way too much.
You're good. Okay, that's solved. Ramsey, can we still offer other businesses the flex? Yeah.
Yes, I work with Colonial on a way to communicate that, but I think we can find out, as long as we all agree that the policy is, it's still a 9-hour window, we can flex the hours if somebody needs that. Then
Okay,
I think
thank you.
that works and we'll figure you out.
Thank you.
Some people work more than 9 hours a day, especially chefs. So everyone should watch The Bear.
Yes, Sean.
My comment from a few minutes ago was going to be, I fully support the daytime hours adjustment from 8 to 6, because when you look at occupancy of the garage, it peaks in two distinct times of the day. It peaks in the morning when people come in to work, and it peaks again when people are coming in to have a good time. Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights are the biggest 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. surges. So we need those spaces if you want to have a vibrant downtown available to people who are coming in from out of town.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anything else? Number 8. Yeah. Bye. We're going to adjourn.